Hello and welcome. My name is Katja Aurora. I'm an intuitive healer and laughter coach, and this is my story. So if you want to know how I got to the place where I am today, please stay tuned. So I specialize in burnout recovery, and a big part of my mission is to lift women up, to show that no matter what the circumstances, there's always a way to feel better, to come back to yourself, learning new habits, learning a new way of living, and also reigniting that inner spark. So I believe the world needs your unique spark, and I'm here to reawaken that spark in you so that your life becomes easy and joyful again. And I would like to tell you a little bit about my own story so that you know where I'm coming from and why this is such a big part of my life. I have experienced burnout myself 3 times. And the very first time was when it was 2005. I moved from Berlin, East Berlin, that's where I grew up, to a remote place in Ireland, and started working in a hotel with shift patterns. And I also had to dramatically change my eating habits because I was vegan in Germany. And then in Ireland, that was very much not possible with working in a hotel in a remote place. So my body, after about 4 months of this, my body just collapsed. I could not do it. So that was 4 months in, and then I needed to just take a break. I needed to completely have a little time out before I could then find another job that was considerably less stressful so that I could function in it. So that was the very first encounter of a burnout. The second one was 8 years later, and by that time I had moved to England. I had been married to a lovely man here in England, and I then also started my own business, or was doing that on the side next to my job. Had a full-time job, and the stress level in my job just got to me. So over time, it built up so much that I just couldn't function there anymore. I had a lot of things to juggle at the same time, and it just got all too much for me. And in my marriage, I got very irritated, and it was just not flowing. So at that point, I really had to reevaluate what I wanted. So in my job at that point, I was able to see the signs, and I started to change my working hours. So I reduced my working hours, and I continued working. I had a bit of time off, but I continued working. So it wasn't as much as dramatic as the first one. And found a way of looking at what I was doing and finding a nice new way of being with it. But 3 years later, in 2016, I had a third burnout. And that happened when a triviality at work just made me have a mental breakdown at work. So again, the pressure had got to me so much that just one little thing at work completely topped me over. So completely changed my world. And I had to be off at that point completely from work. I was 3 months off work, and I still wasn't right when I got back to work. So I continued to be better after that time. And at that point in my life, just when I had that breakdown at work, that weekend, I had a session to learn about laughter yoga. And that was my saving grace, to be honest, because through the laughter, I learned how to cope with this build-up of stress in my body and in my mind. And for the first time, I was able to see how negatively I was thinking, and how that then completely infused all of my life. So in those 3 months, to be honest, I could not do much at all. In the beginning, I cried a lot. I had depression. I was mostly in bed. I couldn't do any household chores or anything. I was so depleted that I had to just rest and then had to get used to that. I felt like a failure. I felt like my body wasn't recovering fast enough. And really, I felt pretty helpless. So it was a situation where nobody really could help me. Nobody was there that I could turn to. I could have had medication for my depression. I could have had counseling to go through this process, but counseling is not really my thing, and medication I didn't want to take. So I then had to go out and research what I needed in that space of time. And those 3 months were the breakthrough for me to find what works to get out of this repetitive pattern, because burnout is a pattern. There is a pattern underlying everything, and it just becomes a self-perpetuating cycle. And if you don't change the underlying habits that you have, burnout can happen over and over again. So that is why I created my program, Reclaim Your Joy, to make sure that you have a plan and a step-by-step process in place so that you find back to the joy in your life. You find back to the control in your life. You don't feel like you're at the mercy of your body. You can function, you know what is good for you, and you can completely turn your life around. That's what I have found. That's what I have done in my life. So I'm here to show you that way and to hold your hand through this. So if you are in a situation of burnout and you struggle with an overload of tasks to do and just not functioning properly, and you're not enjoying your life at all, so you're looking for this spark that has gone lost along the way somewhere, then reach out to me, PM me, or send me an email, and then let's talk, because that is my mission. That's what I'm here for, and I hope that I can help you. Okay, take good care and all the best. Bye-bye.